All right. Sounds like we're in. Gen X, are we adults yet? Yes, we're working on it. Trains. Your mom had one. Everything you wanted to know about today's lumbering locomotives. How do you drive a train? What happened to the caboose? How can trains go through towns in opposite directions so quickly? Does it really take a mile to stop? And how many cars are hit by trains each year? Can you really jump on and off a moving train like in the movies? I've always wanted to know. So we found a train expert.
Sup.
Expert.
Hi, I'm Jason.
And I'm Greg.
And I hit record.
Gen X.
How you guys doing out there? I want to give a shout out to all of those who spend their time with us.
Generation to grow up with.
Give a shout out to our day ones, our Monday crew, and of course, all of our YouTube subscribers. We greatly appreciate anybody who clicks on the title and spends your time with us. I want to give a shout out to everybody who listens to us over on our audio side, over on podbean.com. Links in the description. We have an entire 2.5 years of audio library sitting over there for you guys to enjoy. We do have a bunch of merch if you guys want to support the show. Buy your hoodies and your coffee cups and your underwear and your bikinis and almost anything else. I think we have clocks and all that stuff for sale.
Beach towels and
we
pillows.
have all of that stuff for sale. Links in the description. Support the show. Buy your favorite merch. New designs coming soon. I can say that because this video will just live like this forever.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter.
It's always soon.
And as always, you guys remember, we're not experts. Don't ever take our advice.
Yeah, don't listen to us.
And never take us seriously, but enjoy the show. How you guys doing out there? I want to give a shout out to Adam over here. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you for coming in. Give a shout out to our co-host Greg. How you doing, my friend?
It's happening.
Welcome back for another. Welcome back.
Second week in a row.
2 in a row. Tell us something bueno. Did you catch that rhyme?
You used the alternative language in order to get the rhyme. That's very advanced freestyling skills.
It was. And Eminem, come on the show.
Yeah. We could use another guest next week. The weather's cooling down. What's something good is switching from electricity to gas power for heating the house, and instead of trying to cool the house all the time.
Right.
Yes.
I can just open windows.
Do you have a fireplace?
I can just work all day and not have to fire up the AC because it's right over my head, and I have to turn it off to make phone calls.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's always good.
It's loud.
For sure.
So yeah, switching to gas power. I've only had to use it one time. Only had to turn the fireplace on. Well, I got the gas,
the clicker
remote
fireplace?
control fireplace.
Right.
Yeah, we're not allowed to burn wood in California.
Back to your merch, though.
Yes.
Great merch idea. Gen X.
Yes.
Trains. Your mom had one. I mean,
Done.
if there's not a better hoodie or t-shirt
Look for
than that,
season 2
I
to
don't
drop.
even know. That's
Trains. Your mom had one.
That's the perfect hoodie. Like, yeah, who wouldn't wear that?
Right.
I'm about to make one tonight, and
Yeah.
I'll just have.
That's gonna
See
be
how
rad.
it goes. Hot seller.
So shout out to Adam for coming on the show. We have deemed you the expert on all things train. Be prepared to answer all of our questions to the best of your ability.
To the best of my ability.
I have a feeling you're going to do a great job.
Claiming not an expert.
Not an expert.
I know what I know, but not an expert.
All right. Do you get paid for what you do?
Yes.
You're a professional at a minimum.
Professional, yes. I won't say I'm not a professional, not an expert.
Could you explain this to someone in elementary school?
I drive a train.
Done. Expert status.
Yeah. Career day.
That's all it takes.
You gotta have you at career
You know
day.
how to do your job. Expert.
So one of the things I think where I wanted to start was, cartoons. Big part of our life. Gen X is big on cartoons. We're big on our movies, and our cartoons and our movies always showed an engineer or a conductor or whoever, the guy who would walk down the train and take tickets is called a what?
That would be a conductor.
Okay, and the guy who sits up and shovels coal
Well-
and pulls levers.
Well, they wouldn't do the same thing. So shoveling coal and pulling the levers are two different people too. So in the coal locomotives, that would have been the fireman.
You're an expert.
So the fireman was the one shoveling. I'm not an expert. I just know that because now that job has been taken out. We don't have a fireman anymore because we run diesel motors.
Fair.
So now you just have an engineer and a conductor. You don't have a fireman.
They had the coal running the electric motors at the wheels, right?
The coal for the electric. Yes,
They're still doing that today, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
Just checking.
100%.
That was the conversion. That's a hybrid.
Petrified dinosaurs. Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so the conductor is the one who is kind of in charge of the day of.
Yeah, more or less the person that's going to dictate how the day goes, what rail cars are going to get switched out in any given industry, and that's all based on their paperwork that they get at the beginning of the shift.
Okay.
So that was the thing about cartoons, though. It was always a passenger train because Bugs Bunny was on a passenger train.
Always,
like,
yeah.
Some
Most of the time,
shit
yeah.
with
Right.
Yosemite Sam or something. So.
Yeah.
Right.
Shoot out over the chairs.
Yeah. So
yes.
that's why I think that's our frame. They didn't have like
He's doing freight trains.
Right,
in cartoons.
And Bugs
as much.
Bunny was always on like a passenger train.
Yeah.
So there would be the people who would take in tickets.
Freight trains
all
were the
that
Wile E. Coyote trains out in the desert.
Yes.
That's correct.
Yes,
Yeah,
those were freight
Yeah,
trains.
those are the ones that run Wile E. Coyote over all.
Yeah.
You never saw the engineer or the conductor on those trains,
Right.
Because
Yeah.
they just kept going, hammer down.
It was bam.
We got somewhere
We're in
to
the
be.
desert. Just go.
Well, what about the intro to the Fall Guy?
The train.
They're running across the trains right now. They're running. So that was on our TVs too. So the Fall Guy, the TV show, it was an 80s TV show.
Yeah, I remember the fall.
Run.
I'm just checking.
You can run across the top of it like Jackie Chan does too.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So no, that wouldn't work. The separation between the rail cars is a lot bigger than it used to be. To accommodate
For
going
that
around
reason?
corners and stuff.
Oh.
Just so
not
you
for
can't
that
jump.
reason.
We'll stop these fuckers
But-
from jumping.
I mean, they're
Gap them.
There's certain rail cars that are probably close enough you might be able to if you're athletic, not fat like me. But yeah, I mean,
But if you're
maybe,
running towards
but
the end of the train, then the gap is smaller than if you're running towards.
that's
the
not
beginning
how
of the-
physics work.
No,
but
that's
okay,
different.
Yeah, no. So you're traveling at the same speed as the train, so it doesn't matter which direction.
If you
you're
jumped up,
traveling.
the train's not going to travel underneath
No,
you. You have to
no.
jump pretty
I mean,
fucking high.
maybe inches, but yeah, if you jumped up feet, maybe. But yeah, the amount we could jump, you might move a couple inches. So, but yeah. But no, that's not even something we do. And if I ever saw anybody doing that, I'd have to stop the train, call the police, and have them come out and arrest who was ever up there. And
You'd stop the train?
yeah, 100%.
Wow. Okay.
Well,
I
it's a
wish we
safety
had a
issue,
place
right?
to
that guy
show-
falls off, and I knew he was
To
there.
show a video. We could show a video up here. I just saw a video the other day. They took a train and like a bunch of flat cars, and they took, it's right here. I wish we could show it, dude. Can I turn it and just show it?
Yeah.
I don't know how this is going to show on video. Watch this guy do this.
Oh, I watched this just the other day. This is fucking
Yeah, this
amazing.
is brand new. This just came out like a month ago.
Yeah, we can
And he's going from train to train.
Yeah. He's got a
And he's
bike and
he's staying in one place.
So when the train starts moving, you'll see like the little arms and stuff that come down. He's staying in the same spot, but the train,
The train's moving underneath him on all
Right.
these ramps. It's so sick.
so he's getting enough air that, like we were talking
Yeah,
about,
yeah.
if you get high enough,
To
it will
catch-
move underneath you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But yeah, so that's what's happening.
he
in
was
that one.
physically staying in the same spot.
That's so
Right.
dope. I remember I saw this a few weeks ago and was like, that's
I
incredible.
watched
That
that
is
the other
pretty
day.
I think I saw a different version of it because it was just a stationary one straight from the side,
Yeah, but it
showing
is
the
pretty
whole
cool.
thing. But yeah, just the Red Bull has some of the
Right.
coolest shit.
So you mentioned in
Shout
the
out Red
intro
Bull.
getting on and off the cars, right?
Yes.
So it is something we do at 10 miles an hour or less. The conductor will actually drop off the train where he needs to be at. So he'll step off at that speed and, walk to a stop, and then the train goes by, and he'll count the amount of cars he needs to the engineer over his radio for getting the.
That's
train
when you're trying to
stop where he
line
needs
up.
So 10, you have to
In a
be able
certain
to
spot, right?
You have to be able to hop off. Don't jump out of a Granny Goose truck at 10
Yeah.
miles an hour.
Oh, you can jump off a train at 10 miles an hour? Is that what I'm hearing?
So not jumping off. There's a whole difference between jumping, all of your weight versus swinging out your trailing foot and letting it touch the ground. Still maintaining 3 points of contact, and it's
There's training.
It's like a dance. Yeah, no, we actually
Fair.
train the guys how to get on and off moving equipment.
Why don't
Yeah,
you,
for sure.
when you're getting off a train, it's always rocks.
Yeah,
That's why you
100%.
don't want to fall.
So you have to
huh?
be able to do it in the rocks too.
That is correct.
And don't twist an ankle.
Yeah. Oh, I've done that and fallen, and
Yeah.
I've had scratches on my back, and it
Those
happens.
are like hard, pointy rocks.
Yeah.
They're not the
Yeah,
little soft river rocks.
No, it's all railroad ballast is a totally different style of rock. It's not anything you'd ever put in your driveway or anything else. Yeah, it's just crushed, and so it's sharp edges. And,
Yeah.
All right. So let's take this from the point of view that the conductor, you're leaving your house in the morning. You're going to the rail yard where you work. You're going to go, you're going to punch a clock, you're going to clock in, you're going to show a badge, or you're going to do whatever you do. You're going to make your way to the coffee pot. You're going to have some coffee with you. You're going to meet your team or your crew for the day.
Right.
Here is where you kind of get told, or not get told, but get delivered what the work is for the day. How does that work? You show up to work, you're punched in, you got your coffee, you got your people or whatever. How does work come to you?
So there's a operations supervisor, we call them the OS.
Okay.
They usually get all the paperwork in from the customer requests. So empties going out or loads going out, empties coming in or loads coming in. And they'll hand that work list out to, they'll usually pair the guys up. So it's not always even the same guy you'll work with every day per se.
Right.
Sometimes it'll be the same guy a couple of days in a row, but then they'll switch it up, so we don't get bored with each other and, try to keep the hate out.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Fair.
So, they'll switch up the guys, and then the guys usually decide amongst themselves who's going to be an engineer or conductor. About 80% of our employees are dual certified, so they can do either or. And so they'll decide amongst themselves who's going to run that day or who's going to be the conductor. And then they'll sit down together, look at their work list and figure out, hey, what does this look like for you? What does this look like for me? Sometimes the best plan for the conductor isn't the best plan for the engineer. So the engineer will say, hey, that's a lot of cars to move around. Maybe we can cut some off and put them over there while you do that switch move, make it lighter work for the engineer, or vice versa. The engineer's like, hey, I got plenty of power today. Just keep it all on the head end and do the switch moves off the rear like that. So
it's a lot of collaboration because you said those folks are dual qualified or dual certified.
That's
right?
correct.
So you guys you're teamed up for the day. You get your clipboard or whatever the work you get, and then you head out and it's like, hey, you know what? I'll drive today. I'll conduct today. And then you are, yes.
I have a question. Are you still the guy who has to jump off and pull the thing to switch the tracks too?
So you don't switch it while the train's moving like that. You usually come to a stop, but yeah, you have to manually throw the switch. That is correct.
That's still a thing too.
Yeah, 100%.
That's like a Tom and Jerry move.
Yeah, you can put them into a wall.
Yeah, right.
Right. Well, yeah, if
Make the
that
train
track
go
ends
wherever
in a
you
wall,
want.
yeah, you could. But yeah, no, that's the thing that if you look up a switch stand, a railroad switch stand, you could find pictures of different types. There's high stands, low stands, ergonomic switches. There's
I figured all that stuff would be electronic by now. We
submarine
weren't still
switches.
manually stopping trains
So
and
on the main line, they're almost all 100% electronic, and they're controlled by a dispatcher in another state.
Yeah.
So it's like crazy. But for the local stuff, for the short line stuff, that's just costs way too much money. We don't make that kind of money. We're not mainline railroaders. And so a lot of that stuff is just hand thrown manual switches, manual derails, those type of things that we're doing it by hand. So I can't tell you how many pairs of gloves I go through every year.
but that is part of your job, or that's a different guy?
No, that's a part of the conductor's job.
That'd be the
Yeah.
conductor because the engineer's going to stay in the
The engineer
engine.
stays in the cab the entire time. Yeah.
Right.
That's
okay.
right.
Which job is favored typically? Is there one that's
It depends on the guy. I honestly like to switch back and forth. I like conducting. I like being out in the elements. I like being outside, breathing the fresh air. But I like running the locomotive too. And it just depends. Sometimes if you get two guys, this is the funny part, right? So if you get two guys and they both work at the work list, they check it out, and the senior guy on the crew is like, "This looks like a really crappy switch list. I'm going to be in the cab today." And the grunt work to the new guy, right? Because some switch days are easier, some are going to be a little bit more difficult, and you can kind of tell in your head
with experience. You can read that
with the experience, right? You can look at that list and go, "This is a really crappy list. I don't want anything to do with it." Yeah, and you hand it the junior guy.
Yeah.
So it really just depends. But I enjoy both. I do them both.
But most of the time, it comes down to seniority.
A lot of times,
is it generally an agreement, or is there some times where the senior guy's like, "Hey, kid,
right.
get off my train."
There are times when that happens, right? The senior guy is like, "No, I'm going to do what I'm going to do today."
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's more of a gentlemanly thing. Hey, I ran yesterday, you can run today, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Some people don't like to engineer at all. They only like to be a conductor. One of my really good friends, shout out Miguel. I'll send this to him so he could see it later. He's a really good buddy of mine, and he didn't like to engineer as much as he likes to conduct. And even now, he works with a guy that's only engineer certified, right? So that he can be just a conductor all the time.
Yeah, right.
But he really enjoys that. And when there's other guys that, like the guy who was just talking about, his partner right now, is older and doesn't really physically isn't able to get on and off the moving equipment and do those type of moves, walking around a lot, throwing switches, and so he just sits in the cab. And so they work really good together like that.
Right. Right. Okay, that makes a whole lot of sense. And so you get to the yard, you get your work, you get your team, you go over and you grab your locomotive. Between the two of you, you look at the work for the day. You guys get to decide how many engines you're going to need to leave the yard with. right? Based
Correct.
on
Yeah.
the load coming in.
Right.
So you load up and whatever, I assume there's already cars in the yard loaded, ready to go out, or you pick those up. It's all customer to customer to customer and back to the yard with just the locomotives?
So it really depends. Most customers, though, have something coming in and something going out.
Okay.
So Union Pacific will come down into downtown Oakdale, drop off what we call the inbounds. So the cars that the customers have ordered.
Yeah.
We'll take the locomotive, grab whatever cars are for that customer, head out to that customer, take the cars they have coming out, and put the cars they want going into that track. Mm-hmm. So just doing that switch like that, and then bringing those cars back to Oakdale, where Union Pacific the next night or the night after will come and bring us new cars for those customers and take the old ones with them. When
Got it. So you don't have a storage of empty cars to jostle around.
No, not generally. There are a handful of customers that have like a backlog of cars. They'll
Sure.
over order, we'll call it, right? They got a good price on whatever their commodity is or whatever. So they'll order 5 cars when their track only fits 3, let's say. So then we have a couple sitting off to the side, but we don't have a mass amount of cars just sits on standby.
Right. Grab 5 empties, grab 3 engines, and 5 empties. We're going out tonight.
Right.
Okay. I got you. Okay.
So do you spend a lot of your time waiting for these guys? So I worked at a warehouse where we were unloading the trucks, and the truck drivers were always very impatient about, hey, man, I got to get out of here. How long is this going to take? Or you have to be those guys with the people that says, because someone else is offloading the stuff, right?
Right.
Or
So
you just leave whole cars.
There's a few customers that understand how the process works, right? Fully. And they don't give us a hard time at all. We're in when we get there, we're out when we get out. But there's other customers that their time is money too, right? And so they're like, hey, where are my cars at? What's going on? They're already calling. We just got here at 6:00 and they're already calling at 6:30. Where are my cars at? So, I mean, it depends on the customer. It depends on the product.
Sure.
You know, a lot of that has to do individual basis.
What are some of the range of products you do carry?
A lot of different things.
What's the coolest shit you carry?
When we go out to Concord, we do Concord missions out there with munitions. That's
Okay.
the coolest thing I'd say we carry.
Tanks.
If the
See those
zombie
trains full of tanks
apocalypse
and stuff.
Yes. If
No,
the
not
zombie
tanks.
apocalypse were to jump off, what would you hope to have in your rail car that you could keep all of? Like that you actually carry? Like munitions would be a good one.
We don't have
Do you ever
anything
do
that's-
food? Do you ever do like cool
No.
commodities like like weapons and other than
No, a lot of that stuff is
it like-
done in the sea containers.
Okay.
So the double stack trains that you'll see
Yeah.
go by on the main line. So the cool stuff is in those boxes.
in the containers?
Right,
Huh?
we're bulk commodities. So, like for instance, the UP services ConAgra out there
Yeah.
in Oakdale. So it's tomato sauce and tomato paste, and that's like the coolest thing, right? Everything
ketchup.
else is
I like ketchup.
Everything else is just
a lot of
grains
ketchup here.
or fuel or different types of products like that. Just super bulk, hopper cars, tank cars, things like that.
Okay.
But you do know what's on there because it's hazmat and all that kind of stuff. So you have an idea of what you're pulling and what you're
Generally
moving?
speaking, yeah. I mean, you got to know how to handle that type of stuff. We get issued hazmat books and things like
Yeah.
that, so we know who to call, right? Because you're not gonna. It's hundreds of thousands of gallons in some of these tank cars, so there's no way you're going to handle it. But they give you the information on who to call, how to get away from it.
If this shit spills, you call this number fucking right now.
100%. Right.
Okay.
Getting some guy's cell phone number. Call this number.
You call this number first, right?
You get Greg. He's like, "What do you want?"
One time I saw a milk truck getting on the freeway, and he took the turn too fast and tipped over a milk truck in Manteca, right there where the Starbucks and the In-N-Out Burger and all that stuff is. And that was a lot of milk, dude. And they came out and treated that like hazmat, bro. And it was just milk.
What if it curdled?
Yeah, right.
Ooh, the smell.
And then attracted flies.
Ooh.
Yeah, they
to the
came
old
out with the
Spreckles.
hazmat crews for milk. I was like, that's kind of crazy.
That's trippy. Maybe there was a chemical in the milk.
Maybe it wasn't really milk.
Maybe it wasn't.
Nuclear sauce.
It was heading out to the lab. So a typical day looks like you get your assignment, you get your train, you head out, you jostle the rail cars and tankers back and forth based on your customers' needs. Sometimes there's extra cars you'll storm at the yard, but it's generally like you said, like overstock or whatever. It's like I can take 3. Well, tomorrow you're bringing the other 2.
Right.
Kind of known, right?
Right, correct.
How many people are on the train? Just you and the engineer? If you're the conductor,
just
it's
an
just the
engineer
two
and
of
conductor,
you.
yeah.
Okay.
If it's a lighter day, sometimes you get a 3-man crew, so you'll have what we call a brakeman or a switchman, and those are the guys that will just throw the switches, maybe make a cut on a train here or there, but the conductor's still the one running the job.
That's what I think my neighbor did it, like probably he's coming up on 80 years old. So he worked the train back when he was in his 20s or 30s or something. So like
so
way back in the day.
That long
he
ago,
probably
they still had
brakemen.
brakemen. They still had brakemen back
Yeah,
then.
and I think he talks about pulling pins.
Yeah.
And you had to time it right and all this stuff and throw in switches. And he tells all the stories. I don't think he was driving a train, but I think he was one of those type of guys that just got to do all the grunt work stuff.
So the type of couplings we have now, they, for lack of a better term, they're auto coupling, right? So when they go together, the pins drop automatically. But what he's talking about was back in the day, you just have to stand in between the rail cars as they came together. And as the holes lined up, you'd physically drop a pin in there.
Yeah.
And that's where some of our terminology, when I need the engineer to give me a pin because the knuckles are too tight to pull the pin, I'll ask him to pin it. And so he knows to bunch the cars together so that pin will come up. Yeah. So that terminology comes from back then when they used to physically get in there and drop the pin.
Just stand there in the two. Now they have the couplers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he says there was something that they could do. Like if they didn't, like if you were standing there and you were being the pin dropper and they didn't do it, the guy that was driving didn't do it right, he could basically screw that guy. And I don't know, I don't remember what exactly happened, but he said that there was some contentious relationships between the guys that were.
Oh, if you come into a hook too fast and it's not lined up, you can cross up the knuckles.
Right.
So then you end up ramming one knuckle against the body of the car instead of into the other knuckle. Yeah. So that could happen. I mean, that might be what.
And you're like standing on one of them.
Yeah. I would hope you're not standing on it. You should be standing like 1 foot inside the rail and ready to drop it when it happens. But yeah. So that was a long time ago, though.
That's how men did it. That's how
he did it back in the
1920s.
That's okay. A lot of them either died or came back
lost their fucking hands.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Spit on it.
This is now, you know.
I worked the railroad.
Well, so my job at Sierra Northern, I'm actually the assistant manager of safety and training.
Okay.
And so I'll tell you right now, a lot of those rules in the rule books, they're written in somebody else's blood, right? So it took somebody getting injured, losing a body part, losing their life to come up with the rules that we have now.
Like no jumping from fucking car to car.
And
that's a real rule, right?
Yeah, that is correct.
And it's written that kind of way, like you're not allowed to like.
Yeah, it actually is written in the G Corps. While the train is moving, you can't go from one car to another. Yeah.
not necessarily on top, but like,
Not even on there's crossover platforms. And so with the train is fully stopped and you've asked the engineer for a red zone, which means the engineer is going to put the reverser centered and full set of brakes on there so that there's no way it can move and he's going to take his hands off of everything.
Like locking it out, right?
Right. Like a lockout tag out almost. So he's going to call for a red zone. While you have a red zone, you can go from one crossover platform to the other one, but never on top of the cars. It's actually, again, written in G Corps. You can't climb on top of the equipment. So, yeah.
Because somebody has done it enough to fuck it up for everybody else.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So no. So do you have a control tower? Do you have a dispatch that you talk to while you're out on the line? Is there someone that you can like radio communicate to?
Yeah, so the OS that I mentioned earlier, the operations supervisor, they if you have any questions or if a customer changes their request, or a lot of times what will happen is first thing in the morning, 5 o'clock before the guys show up at 6. 5 o'clock, the customer will say, I've got 4 empties for you guys to take. Then you show up and the customer says, well, I've emptied another one since 5 o'clock. So could you take that one too? That's when you'd want to call your supervisor and say, hey, they've emptied another one. Can we get that released in the system, in our little tablet system, so that we can take that car and electronically move it over to the UP track and deliver it off?
Right.
So,
okay.
So, I mean, for situations like that, yeah.
Do you have a cool call sign? Do you have like a cool nickname? Do you guys have radio names out there, or does like?
So some companies will give like new guys as they come in nicknames. We're not really big on that, although I got a new guy that started not too long ago, and the first day I worked with him, he reminded me of the guy that carried Oscar the Grouch around.
Yeah.
And so now his name's Bruno because that was that Muppet's name. Dude, I was like, this guy is Bruno. So we call him Bruno now. That's just his nickname. But generally speaking, most of the guys don't get nicknames.
But you have to talk on the radio?
Oh, yeah.
No formal radio, Marine Corps, hey, you, this is me. No, like there's no formalities to radio use.
Well, I mean, there's a little bit of formality. So a lot of times you'll have multiple jobs working on the same channel. And so if I want my train to stop, but I don't want that other guy to think I'm talking to him, I need to use our jobs sign. So in Oakdale, a lot of them will be the name of the train, OKRS, because they're going to or OKRB because they're going to Riverbank. And then in Sacramento, we only run 2 jobs, but we run during the time that the UP is running on the main line too. And so we call our jobs the yacht job and the gabbler. So they have nicknames so that, we can talk to each other.
Hey, yacht job. You gotta something.
Yacht
your next,
job, back
whatever.
it up 3 to a hook or whatever I need to do. Right.
Okay.
So that way he knows I'm talking to him, and the UP guys aren't going back up 3, but I'm going 50 right now on the main line.
You heard me. Red zone.
Right. Red zone.
Red zone.
Emergency.
Everybody red zone.
But there's not some captain that's going to jump on the radio because you're not using the proper radio language.
No, not like that. Not like that at all. Yeah, for sure.
I don't want to say, you said not co-supervisor, assistant supervisor.
Yeah, assistant manager.
Assistant manager of safety and
to the
training.
manager.
Assistant
to the manager. Yeah, Sal would love that one. That's my boss's Sal.
Outside of your typical, keep your hands and feet inside the train at all times and, your personal equipment and stuff. Is there any training around like old school cartoon stuff, 1800s train robbery? I mean, I don't imagine people are pulling up on trains with horses anymore, on horses.
Right.
Or greasing the track so you slow down and you know what I mean? All these.
No. Train robberies, you can look it up on YouTube actually. There's a lot of them. They rob the stack trains. So the stack train has to stop somewhere. They'll have cars, 20, 30 cars already staged up. People getting out of those cars, popping those containers open and just offloading stuff.
Amazon packages.
Right? Yeah. Well, I saw another one the other day. It was TVs. It had to have been TVs. So the boxes were like this narrow and they were, TVs. So they're just offloading TVs while that train's sitting there waiting its turn to enter the yard or wherever it's going, whatever's happening.
That was down in
Sitting in a
SoCal,
queue.
right?
Yeah. I think
I've seen
a couple
them in
years
Chicago.
ago.
They're like in the big rail yards.
So that's
and they're
how
not
train
doing
robberies happen now. So.
And it's not like they're not doing anything, but they're not enforcing it. They're not really calling authorities out to monitor or try and capture any of this folks. I remember that from like the news.
So,
whatever the news clip I was watching.
Part of it is that they don't attack every train, right? Every time a train stops, it doesn't happen every time. And then the trains are a mile long. So there's no way for the conductor and the engineer on the head end of the train to know what's happening a mile back. You know what I mean?
You're not seeing it, yeah.
Right. You
got rear view mirrors on. You got the big ass.
Call in the moment.
Right.
And then the other thing is there's 20 or 30 guys out there. You'd have to have a full
Army.
2-3 SWAT teams out there to catch everybody because they're just going to scatter to the wind.
It's going to fucking mob you.
Right. And like I said, it's not a daily occurrence per se. They'll wait.
Yeah.
They have insiders. They know somebody who knows exactly which container has what. So they know what they're looking for. And so they'll wait for that specific container to come by.
Insider shit.
Right. And then they'll hit that one car. So
it's not just a random, whatever stops in front of us, we're hitting all these cars.
For sure. No, not that at all. Because you'll see them, they'll only open containers. They'll skip 2 or 3 containers and open the next one. So it's not like they're opening each one and looking inside what's in here.
TVs,
Get on the main line and then pull the pin on one of the train, and then let the guys pull away.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that you just stole the back part of the train.
So that wouldn't work though, unless you know how to operate the rail cars. If you separate them without closing the angle cock, it's going to release all the air and the train's going to go into emergency. So you can't just separate them like that unless you know how to operate.
That's why if I was doing a heist, I would have you on my team.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah. There you go.
We're talking percentages.
Right.
Do you ever catch any hobos?
Yeah, what do you do with hobos?
There's homeless around all the time. I mean, that's
But riding on the train?
And in your profession, you know what I'm talking about. That's where a large majority
Riding
of
the rail.
live.
I'm-
They're either next to the railroad or next to the freeway.
Yeah.
So
what about people hopping the train? Like, hobos back in the day would ride the rail.
I dreamed about that when I was a kid. I always wanted to.
right. So, short line, the way we operate isn't
True.
very far, right? So there's nowhere for them to go.
They're just trying to get downtown.
But if I wanted to get from
Right.
if I wanted to get from Oakdale to Sonora, I could sneak a ride with you guys.
Or Oakdale to Riverbank, right? I mean, we're not going really far.
Can you take me across the bridge?
Prior to working for the short line, though, I worked for a company, TSS, out of Lathrop. where they do the stack trains.
Okay.
And we would occasionally have the guys that the train would show up and they didn't realize that they were stopping in a yard and they didn't get off. So we call the UP police. They'd come and arrest them. And so people walking by. There was a time when I don't know where the container came from. I think it was somewhere in LA, if I remember right. But a guy had gotten into a container to take a nap, fall asleep, knock out, whatever. And they locked him up in it, not knowing he was in there. And he rode from LA all the way up here with no water, no food, no nothing. Just woke up in a closed container that he can't open from the inside. So
you could fucking die in that shit.
Yeah.
Wow. That's when it gets scary. You know what I mean? It's like, I know this train's not going to ride for 48 hours straight. It's going to stop somewhere. Right. If I'm riding on the outside of it.
But I mean, he didn't get in the container with the intention of traveling. He got in the container with the intention of just going to sleep, taking a nap, getting out of the elements.
Yeah.
Then the container gets closed up. Next thing you know, it's on a rail car. Nobody can hear him banging in there. So all the machines make all the noise. Next thing you know, they're taking it off. It's totally different, 8 hours away from where he fell asleep.
And then he gets arrested.
Yeah. And then he gets arrested.
Then he's got to walk all the way back. Loses all of his stuff. Dang. He's got to get a new ID.
If you had one to begin with.
So train robbery is a little different now, and it is what it is, right?
Right.
Can you run alongside a moving train and grab on?
Yeah, that's part of what I was talking about, getting on and off moving equipment.
Yeah.
It's part of the training for learning how to be a conductor.
Sure.
To get on and off moving equipment. You're on the locomotive, but you need to make the rear of the train clear the switch. You're just going to hop off the locomotive at the switch instead of having them stop and then restart. You're just going to hop off at 7 to 10 miles an hour and hop off at that switch
Onto those big ass rocks.
Well, they're not big, but they're sharp. Yeah.
They're not round.
No, they're definitely sharp.
So we always dreamed of being able to ride the train from Ripon into either Manteca, because it went right by the overpass at the end of Main Street.
Yeah.
And sometimes it would go through there slow enough. We would grab onto those ladders and ride it down to the high school or something like that. And then you're like, all right, it's getting too fast. And you have to jump off before it got too fast.
If it gets any more than like 15, and you're probably going to eat shit when you try to get off there at 15, no matter training or not. Like, that's fast. So, yeah, you wouldn't want to try to do that on a mainline train while it's moving. So a lot of the hobos, they get in when it's leaving a yard or when it's on standby. So when one train's going south and the other one's going north, they'll have to park one of the trains, right?
Yeah.
So they stick them into a siding that's big enough to fit the train. They go sit in that siding for, 10 or 15 minutes. It's not long for the other train to get by. But while it's sitting, not moving, those people will get on the rail cars and then ride it to wherever it stops next, whether that be a siding or the next yard it's going to or whatever.
Right.
So
Okay. I just had a question too, and I didn't want to forget, and I just forgot. I got a shit ton of them, but there was thankful.
Do you think trains are jealous of roller coasters? 'Cause they get all that
They get to go up and down.
I'm jealous of not being able to operate it on a roller coaster. Yeah, a lot of it's just, and we don't operate much more than 10 miles an hour almost the entirety of our short line railroad. So a lot of it's just slow, and when we get there, we'll get there, and so yeah, I wish we could go a little bit faster.
10 miles an hour max, huh?
Yeah, for a lot of it.
Does it really take a mile to stop?
It depends on the train.
Right.
So the mainline trains out here, UP and BN, if those trains are 3/4 or a mile long, like we were talking about, absolutely, it's going to take more than a mile to stop.
Right.
You're talking about metal on metal, smooth surfaces against each other, and that's just it's.
And
just
you
a slide.
see, like those things are going 70 next to the freeway sometimes.
Yeah, they're
60 to
fast.
70. Yeah, mainline speed is 60 to 70, and then for some of the passenger trains, we're getting in close to the 80s for some of those passenger trains now.
Kind of cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, anything moving that fast is going to take a while to stop. Then you think about how much weight that is.
And then the weight also.
Right.
Yeah.
So that weight, the inertia, you're just going to continue to move. You'll eventually stop, but I mean, it's going to take a long time. So a mile is a low estimate on some of those trains.
Right.
If it's moving 60 miles an hour, trying to dead stop there's no rubber, it's metal on metal. And all of those rail cars are just going to slide and slide and slide and slide and slide.
Slide.
Yeah.
How do the arms work? I mean, how is there communication between the train and the little safety arms that come down? What are those called? Is there communication?
Crossing arms.
Crossing arms. Okay.
There's no communication from the cab. Like the engineer isn't sitting there pushing a button when he's ready for him to come down.
Okay, we're within so many yards or feet. Dunk.
So there's a couple of different ways that works. So there's ones that have speed sensor, speed. They go down based on speed and approach to the crossing, right? So if you're going 10 miles an hour, they'll start going down sooner. Then if you're going 5 miles an hour, they'll wait till you're closer and then they'll start coming down, right? Then there's other ones that you have to be inside a wheel inside what's called the circuit, right? So it completes the circuit and then it tells the big box that's usually sitting there. You see
yes.
it looks like a little house.
Yeah.
That'll tell that box, okay, somebody's here, drop the arms. And then there's a couple of crossings that we have at different sections of our railroad, and I know they have them on the main line and stuff too, where you can actually punch in a code for that box that'll activate the arms before you even get there. So there's a couple of different ways they work. It just depends on where they're at, what they're used for, where their location is.
The complete the circuit one makes a lot of sense because when I was a kid, I remember in Manteca, right there by San Joaquin Lumber, the train tracks are right there, right across the road. This is right on the main fucking strip. Library, San Joaquin Lumber, right in the middle of town, KFC. Anyways, the lumber yard was there, and sometimes along the tracks behind the lumber yard, you would see those metal bands that they would strap like pallets and stuff like lumber with. You know what I mean? Those metal straps. And somebody told me you can take those metal straps, and I did this, right? I was told you could take the straps and put them on each track, and the arms will come down.
Yeah, it's called shunting the rail.
So I shunted the rail.
Yeah. Yeah.
Expert.
So I put it under my foot on this one and put it on this foot, and I just did this foot back and forth like this, and the ding, 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 ding. I'm like, oh my God. And then I realized.
Get the paint on the strap to go away.
Is that what it was?
Metal contact. That's why you had to rub it.
Okay.
Right, for sure.
And so the guards come down, the car stop, and then I realized all these fucking people are watching this kid fuck with the train tracks. But I actually did that. I never understood how or why. So that makes.
So when the professionals, right, the guys that go out and repair the tracks or do the work on the crossing arms, things like that, they actually have the shunts look like a pair of jumper cables.
Yeah,
and they just clip it to that, and it'll activate them if they need to test them or whatever. So
right.
Yeah.
Okay, and once they're down, if anything happens, they stay down. They're not gonna.
No, they come back up.
Well, I mean, to work on it, so that's like a legal lockout kind of safety thing. You just.
Now they're down.
And they're down.
Yeah, if they wanted to. There's also switches inside those boxes for them to do the same thing if they needed to, right?
Okay.
So.
All right, so we've covered a few things. You can run along outside the train while it's moving, but you said there's like some specific codes that says don't, right?
Right.
You can get on top of the train and run along the top of it and jump, but you'll probably get fired for doing so.
Oh, I absolutely would get fired as a manager, especially.
Right.
But then if I ever saw any of the employees doing that, they would be fired on the
Out there with their phone.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, that's in the book too about having electronic devices on you while you're on duty.
Really?
It's safety related, right? So they need to be paying attention. Everything's heavy, right? It's like I tell the new guys when they come in, you're the squishiest thing out there.
Yeah.
Everything is steel. The railroad ties weigh 180 pounds a piece or some crap like that.
Yeah.
And, you're the squishiest thing out there. You're not going to stop a rail car by hand. You're not going to, so always pay attention to where you're at.
Right.
Last thing you need is a phone going off in your pocket. Oh, what does the old lady want for dinner? And you pull up your phone and now the train you were paying attention to crashes into the building.
Wait, red zone. red zone.
That'll do. Plug it.
Okay, you can run. You can't really. You can jump on and off, and there's actually training, but that's when you're gonna hop off and you're gonna pull some cars or load some up or make a switch or something. You're not obviously jumping off a full moving train, a full speed train, and just fucking like
not.
TV. And
You just hopping off that little step right there that's on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hold on, 3 points of contact, trail foot.
Yeah. That's
take off running.
Yeah, and then the same thing to get on.
That's what I should have done on the Granny Goose.
Trailing foot. You put your trailing foot up, and then you make 3 points of contact, and the train kind of pushes you up as you come on.
Okay.
So that's to get on.
Are there any conductors that cannot do that? And do they get made fun of?
Yes.
Do people tease them for
Both?
that?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We're ruthless, and what we call it in the rocks, right?
Yeah.
Because we're out in the rocks. We're not in the office. We're out in the rocks. And
Yeah.
when you're in the rocks, pretty much anything goes.
Yeah.
With the exception of obviously like physical fighting and
Sure.
things like that, right? But even as management, I mean, we're training me and my the OS in Sacramento are training a brand new guy, and it's relentless. We're constantly. I told you I nicknamed him Bruno.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm just constantly giving him crap. And the funny thing about it is he's like one of the better trainees we've had in a while.
Yeah.
He's picking it up really fast. He's learning really good, but we're just constantly on him.
Yeah.
Anything he says is just we flip it and make it horrible. And on top of that, he's a Niners fan. It's just all bad.
I saw someone recently
They will
say
prevail.
that guys get together and say mean stuff to each other that they don't mean, and women get together and say nice stuff to each other that
They don't mean.
That's facts. We even told him one day we're like, hey, if it's getting too much for you, just let us know. We can cool it. But the only reason we're giving you a hard time is because we like you.
Yeah.
Like if I didn't like you,
You're in the crew.
I wouldn't talk to you.
talk to you.
Right.
We would just tell you what to do to get the job done and be done with you.
Right.
Like,
Done
we're
with
giving
you,
you
bro.
crap because we actually like you and we like
Is he
working
young?
with you. He's younger than me. But
Yeah.
I mean, maybe about 10 years younger than me. So in his mid 30s or so. So not super young, but yeah, he's worked construction for most of his life. So he's already used to, getting the crap. And
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
he's
part
been
of
around-
that
been around
lifestyle too,
dudes.
right?
It's a lifestyle.
For sure.
He's been around dudes.
Blue
Yeah.
collar lifestyle.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you really hear a train by putting your ear to the track?
Never tried it. Couldn't tell you.
We used to do it in Ripon if we were there and it was quiet and we wanted to know if a train was coming. We used to cross that bridge from Ripon to Salida.
Yeah.
We would ride our bikes on that thing. So you would do the put your ear down, think you were some kind of
Stand by me, kid.
Yeah.
Now,
so
see,
stand by me.
I could see where maybe not hearing it, but feeling it. I
Feeling
think
a
you
rumble
would feel
or a
the
roar.
vibration
right.
before you would hear it. So unless the horn's blowing, those horns, some of them you can hear for 3, 4, 5 miles away. And then when you live right next to them, poor Greg.
I'm not like that close. It's just close enough to be annoying. And so I'm just surrounded by them. And what it sounds like is they're playing at
Right.
3 a.m. Like this guy's honking, then this guy's honking, then this guy's honking, then this guy honks twice.
Yeah.
So this guy honks twice. And they're just like, there's no rules. You can just blast. Like, you know,
There's
that you're
no
not just,
rules?
that's not, doesn't just go in a straight line. It goes everywhere.
Correct.
Sound rises.
And there are rules for the horns. So
It's too long.
too long, a short, and a long.
Yeah.
for a crossing. But there's also you can reply to your conductor yes or no by two blasts or 3 blasts.
There you go.
If you're pulling up
There you
next to
go.
like men and equipment in an adjacent track or something like that, it's a long and a short. And then as you pass them, you're running your bell the whole time and two shorts until you get past those guys. So I mean, there's other ways to use that horn besides just
Yeah.
going through a crossing.
So I just
There you
turned
go.
50, so I wake up in the middle of the night to go pee a lot.
Right.
So then when I'm trying to go back to sleep on these nice nights when I can have my window open,
Oh, you got
you
got
Speaking of
train
middle of the
symphony.
night, window open. When me and my wife first started dating, she lived out in a place out in Escalon.
Yeah.
And we were sitting there in the middle of the night after I'd gotten off work. I'd come over and we were hanging out and we were sitting in bed in the middle of the night. It had to be like midnight, between 11 and midnight. We're sitting there and I was like, hey, babe, do you hear that? And she's like, hear what? I was like, that. She goes, the train horn? And I go, no, the sound of my people. And she's like,
what it
you're
is.
stupid.
they're playing, dude. They're playing in the middle of the night. And they've got all this little downtown in Modesto right there where they can pull off the side and they'll block the road for 30 minutes and stuff.
Yeah.
And these tracks that get used a couple times a year. I've been there for 6 years. I've seen them use these tracks only a few times.
Where at?
Downtown Modesto, like where I don't know where I don't know what they make there. Tomatoes? Are they doing tomato stuff there? Is it Del Monte or something? Or is it,
The big Stanislaus Foods place?
Yeah,
Right there where
yeah,
all the
like-
tomatoes come in?
yeah. But there's a rail line that goes down, not D Street, the one before C Street. I don't know. It's the opposite way. So
Oh, the one that goes right down the middle of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
street. That's the M&ET. And they come out of Gallows just right down that street. If you were
Yeah.
to go if you're coming
Gallo
towards
glass.
the 9th Street Bridge, well, it's not just glass, but yeah, the whole Gallo plant's right down.
yeah.
And they do that every night. They go out there every night to deliver off the UPs. That's the outbound UP. They go out to.
Or maybe
the
I've
UP
only
main
seen
line.
it a couple of times, but
Yeah.
that's where I feel like they're making a lot of noise.
Yeah, no, they have to blow their horn through all the crossings.
Yeah.
So they're going to make all that noise because
And in some places, there's not these. It's just they start blinking the intersections and stuff.
Correct. So there's no crossing arms. They're just the flashing lights.
Yeah.
So you really got to lay on the horn for those ones because, if you're not blowing the horn and you hit somebody or something, the railroad's automatically liable, right? So you have to blow the horn.
So
Not
that's what
only
I gotta
that, but
do?
is that all you got to do?
That's what I got to do.
It's federal regulation, though.
Make sure to
I
hit
mean,
that
it's
train as soon as that horn stops.
It's above anything that we're deciding to do or not, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, they absolutely have to. So they're making a lot of noise when they go downtown.
What the fuck happened to the caboose?
Yeah.
So the caboose,
What was it and where'd it go?
the caboose was originally for, it was like the office for the conductor.
I thought it was like a break room.
Well, sort of, right? So it's the office where the conductor.
That big wheel on the back was the brake for the whole train.
It was part of it, yeah. Part of it absolutely was. So the main thing that took away from the caboose now is we use what's called an EOT or end of train device. So that communicates radio
That's that
signals
little fucking lantern thingy or whatever looking.
on the rear of the train.
Yeah.
Right, with the flashing red light.
Yeah.
So that communicates with the head end through radio signals. And if you put the train in emergency, it'll pop the air from both ends so that you can slow down and stop faster, right? Because the air's blowing down from this end and that end at the same time, meeting in the middle. And that used to be what the caboose was for. Along with it was a office for the conductor for all their paperwork that they had to have back in the day. Whereas all that's electronic now. So they used to have to keep track of tally marks, where the cars were, where they came from, and all that. They used to have to keep track of that. So it was a place to keep their paperwork. It was a place to take breaks. It was a place to plan out what they're going to do at the next stop. And they'd have 3 or 4 brakemen and switchmen on their crew as well. So they were like the foremen for the job. I mean, it was a really big deal back in the day. And so they had to have a place for all that stuff. They generally had like a fireplace in there, a couple of bunks so the guys could switch out, things like that. And that's just gone away with things like hours of service. So we're not allowed to work over 12 hours in a 24-hour period anymore, things like that.
Wow.
So just different sets of rules all
Kinda
combined.
phase that
have just
shit
kind
out.
of phased it
And
out.
now you can
right?
run the whole thing on your Apple Watch.
Shoot. I
Right?
wish that'd be kind of nice. Then I
Don't get me.
wouldn't need to train idiots anymore. I can just do it myself.
Right?
Tell us a few things the average person may not know.
I think I've told you a lot already.
You told
The
us a
average
shit
person
ton.
Probably doesn't know. I can't think of what else the average person might not know.
Have you hit anything in a train?
Besides like the random shopping cart and stuff like that. No.
Car? Ever hit a car, a truck,
No.
a
Well,
deer,
you only get to go 10.
an antelope,
Right.
a gazelle?
10. So
Oh, the whole thing.
Yeah.
What's your braking distance at 10?
12.
with a full load of cars or light
Yeah.
power.
Yeah.
Because if I've only got the engines, even at 10 miles an hour, I'm still going to go about the distance of half a rail car. So we don't do anything in feet, by the way. We only count in rail car distance.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm counting them 3 to a hook. That's 3 rail cars. Each rail car, depending on what it is, could be anywhere from 50 to 75 feet.
Okay.
So, but we don't count feet where it's rail car distance. So you get used to seeing that distance as that's one rail car. So half of a rail car, which would probably be between 25 and 35 feet or so, light power, you can stop at 10 miles an hour. Now, if I've got 20 loads on me in any kind of grade whatsoever, and I'm trying to stop, that we're talking about 3 or 4 rail car lengths, sometimes even 5 or 6 if the grade's steep enough before the train will come to a full stop.
Right.
So
So even from like Riverbank to Oakdale or Oakdale to Sonora, you're still only doing 10 miles an hour?
recently, within the past year or so, they did a lot of rail upgrade between Riverbank and Oakdale.
Yeah.
And that speed is a maximum of 25 now.
Okay.
So they move a little bit faster there,
Sure.
but everywhere else is still 10.
Okay.
Do you guys have to do mandatory breaks like when I'm in the grocery store and they just shut down a check stand and
No.
and there's a big old line?
No, we don't.
You
just stop the
have
train,
any of those mandatory 15-minute breaks.
No, we're here until the job's done.
Okay.
You're here in the morning.
I've had
you're
them
here until the
come and
job's
pull
done.
some kid off making my Subway sandwich before. Hey, go on break.
Right?
Gotta go on break right now.
Right
You couldn't
now?
wait like 2 more minutes.
Yeah, insane.
When you have multiple engines, does each engine need a driver? Each engine need...
No. So they link together through MU cables and through air hoses. So whatever you do on the front engine, it's repeated on the rear engine or engines if you have multiple.
Right.
So, and then a lot of these big trains on the main line you guys have seen go by, you'll see between 3 and 5 engines on the head end, and then you'll see 2 or 1 either in the middle of the train or on the rear of the train. That's all calculated out in the computer, and then it'll tell you per tonnage what kind of trailing power you need, or they're called DPUs, distributed power unit.
Yeah.
So it's to just distribute the power and stopping force in the middle of the train, and usually the ones that have those DPUs are going over mountains or stuff like that. If you're just going to go straight, flat from one spot to another, usually 3 to 5 on the head end is going to cover just about anything you want to haul.
Right.
But yeah, if you're going to go over the Altamont, let's say, they're usually going to put 2 on the rear or 2 in the middle somewhere to distribute that.
You got to be pretty careful about that. You could either rip a train apart.
That's 100%
or
correct.
You can push it together and buckle it or something, right?
It's string lining a train, or like you were talking about pulling it apart. You can also string line it. So if there's too much brake on the rear of your train and you're trying to get it to go forward and you're on a curve, that those locomotives don't care. They're gonna put the power down that you're asking them to, and it's just gonna pull that train straight across
it's
that
gonna try and
instead of the curve, right? Because there's nothing holding it on to the rail but gravity.
Yeah.
Right.
There's nothing bolted down. There's nothing.
It's
right?
just like a
It's
toy
just the
train. It
flange.
just sits on there. Yeah.
Flange,
It's just the flange on the wheel based on the gauge, and that's it. And the rail cars themselves aren't even bolted to the trucks.
No, those things
They just sit on there, right?
You can see that from the car.
But that's for
Literally
safety
held together
reasons
for
too,
gravity.
right?
Yeah, that is for safety reasons, correct. So
What's the safety?
So that if that string line situation happens, you don't have everything continuing to go. Stuff's going to come apart.
It'll stop.
Yeah, it'll stop faster.
The effect where I'm trying to think of the word now. I'm blanking
I see what
on
you
the
mean by
word.
string lines coming around.
Yeah.
And if you're pulling too fast,
It's going to try and make a straight line out of it.
It's going to snap that shit,
It's going to
right?
take the shortest distance.
It's going to want to pull it right off the inside of that track.
And there's also jackknifing, so the other direction, right? So on the head end, you're coming down a hill, and on the head end, you're put all the brakes on the engines and nothing
And your
on the
ass is
cars.
trying to pass you up, right?
And the rear's coming up on you. It's just going to shove all that stuff off of the corner going the other way.
You just put your arm across your shotgun, right?
Yeah, no,
Slow
100%.
down?
Yeah, no,
You're
that's
good?
how it works. Yeah.
Okay, because that worked.
100%.
It worked when I was a kid.
The seatbelt of mom.
Yes. Oh, hold on.
Hold on.
She hasn't done that in a long time. I appreciate that. She doesn't drive. You brought some keys, and one of them is a reverser key.
Yeah, that's correct.
I know what a reverser key is because I read an article one time about this guy who hijacked a subway train out in New York somewhere and was driving the route. But he had tripped a few speed sensors or a few speed traps or whatever. So the radio people were trying to get a hold of him. He wasn't answering, so they shut the train off. They shut it down.
Correct.
And they went out there and basically arrested this guy. He wasn't an employee, but he had knowledge of the trains. And the cool part was, the part that stood out was he even had a reverser key with him. And they explained that you need that key to back up or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But you have one. What is a reverser key? And why is that separate? Why isn't there just a gear selector?
So the reverser is, what's the best way to describe it? So you have drive and reverse in your car, especially the new cars, right? With the dial, all you have is drive and reverse.
Yeah.
You don't even have first and second like we did in our cars growing up, first and second gear down. So the reverser is just basically the forward and backward. It'll only go forward if you push it to forward, or only go backward if you push it to backward.
Well, why isn't it just like a lever? I want to say lever, a lever, and
It has to be removable.
Correct.
so it won't
For
move
safety.
at all with this.
Without that, it won't move at all.
This is just the key to the train.
Yeah, but basically the keys
Okay.
to the controls, because then it's got a separate set of keys to even get into the cab.
Right,
So
well,
the
yeah.
cab gets locked down, and then so even if you could get in the cab and somehow by some miracle you figured out the exact way that you need to start the thing up, because it's got a very specific way that you'd start it up. You can't just get in there and push start like you do in your car.
Push a clutch in.
right? There's
neutral.
this big switch, and there's several smaller switches, and there's different.
You got to
there's a
start this motor
order
to
of
heat this up, to turn this
There's an
pump
order of
on
operations,
first.
right?
Yes.
So by some miracle you got in the cab and you got it fired up.
You're not just
you'd
going,
still
"Rah, rah,
need
rah,
one
rah."
of those to even go anywhere.
Okay. And then this goes in and engages. This is called a reverser key, but it's not just to go in reverse.
No, it's forward and backward. Yeah,
Forward.
And I don't know why it was only called a reverser key, because that's easier than saying the forward backward key. Maybe I don't know.
Grab the keys.
Yeah,
Grab the fucking key. Grab the keys.
Right.
And so there's no keychain on this.
Well, they used to be made out of brass and different types of metals back in the day, because you'd only have one per locomotive. Like they weren't just available.
A
Now
box of them,
you
right?
can go on Amazon now and just buy a case of them.
Yeah, because that doesn't look too locksmithy.
No, for sure. Yeah.
No, that doesn't look
Not
too
at all.
high tech on the safety
And that,
there. Not the
that
safety, but
one will work in all of the locomotives.
all of them.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
This is like the master Toyota key.
Right. But again, that's getting inside the cab after it's been locked up, figuring out how to fire it up with the right sequence to get it fired up.
Right.
Right. And then using that. And then where do you even put that? Like looking at the control stand, would you even know where to put that?
I bet there's a YouTube
also
video.
known as a Johnson bar.
It's a Johnson bar.
That's what it was on the steam engines
The Johnson
back
bar.
in the day. It was known as
okay.
a Johnson
Well,
bar.
That's new information for me.
That's
Learn
a
something
cool.
new every
That'd
day.
be a cool name to show up on Monday with that cool name. Start calling it the Johnson bar. Hey,
Got the
anybody
Johnson
see my
bar?
Johnson bar?
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah. I can see how
Anybody
well
see
that'd
my
go over
Johnson bar?
really quick. Really quick. I'm going to tell Bruno that it's a Johnson bar.
My Johnson bar.
Just
One of
get
those,
the new
yeah.
guy calling.
You want to grab my
the keys
Johnson
to the
bar?
Humvee.
Hey, Bruno, go get the Johnson bar.
Go ask the boss for his Johnson bar.
Go get the rail stretcher while you're at it.
Yeah.
We'll stretch some of this rail out.
Get that rail stretcher. There's a tile stretcher. There's a knot puller.
Yeah. Working in the restaurant industry quite a few years ago, we used to tell the guys to go get the dehydrated water.
Yeah. The packet. It's in the back. Hurry, I'm out. Hurry.
Packets. Hurry.
Fuck,
Go
dude.
get some dehydrated water. I need to make this gravy real quick.
Do you know any train jokes?
Not really.
There's not a lot of train jokes floating around.
No. I mean, there's probably some. Had I thought about it before, maybe I could have looked something up, but yeah, not off the top of my head.
Do you wave at the cows and stuff when you're going by? Do you have
We honk at the cows.
Do you really?
When they're close to
I
the
fucking
rail.
honk at cows too.
Well, we honk at them so they don't walk in front of us, because they're dumb and they'll
hella
walk
dumb.
wherever they're walking. They'll just continue to go. So you got to honk the horn to get them. They'll scatter.
scare 'em and
Scatter,
run 'em.
yeah.
I've seen a couple of them fall down hills after we've honked at them, and we kind of laugh.
How loud is that train horn?
They're all different. Depends on which horn it is.
We're talking like hundreds of decibels,
Yeah,
right?
hundreds of decibels. Like I said, 3 to 4, 5 miles away, and in some instances, going up the hill towards Sonora in those canyons, it'll travel even further than that, just stuck in the canyon.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I want one on my truck.
you can buy them.
A train horn.
I had
you
a
can.
bunch of friends. They all had that shit on their trucks.
Yeah, you can buy legit train horns on.
It was like a
eBay.
funny thing. As soon as someone walked in front of your truck, was to blast the train horn out.
Yeah.
Shit their pants a little
But
bit.
I mean, even the there's electric ones, and they're not as loud as the actual air ones.
horns,
so
yeah.
To get an air one, you'd have to have a whole separate setup in your tank with a compressor
and all that shit. Yeah.
That's what I did.
tank
I put one on my Scion. A mini. It was just a miniature. It wasn't super loud like a train horn, but
Yeah,
I
but-
put the horn that comes on those cars was like a one of those weak little horns.
The little
so I
ones.
needed something with a little more power. So I just got like the little thing that had the Craig in, the pump and stuff, and
Nice.
wired it all in. A nice little setup.
You got the one that plays Dixie, like,
Yeah.
like the General Lee, and then
Yeah.
you'd have been set.
My dad had put one of those in his car. You had to pull a thing to make the horn go, and you can make it go wait, wee.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I never heard of
He had some old truck and stuff when I was a kid. I remember him putting that under the dash.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Well, I think that's going to do it for us today. I want to say thank you to everybody who joined us and hung out to the very end. We always appreciate you guys. Adam, thank you for jumping in, sir. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you
yeah.
for your expertise.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime. For anything. I like
appreciate it.
You just
to
leave
hang
us
out.
leave us a card so if we have any train questions and
Yes, you are now the train expert.
we're just gonna call you on speed dial. If you get a phone call between 6:30 and 8:30 any Thursday night,
Any
you
given
know.
Thursday night.
Yeah, you know it's
I'll
a
be the
train.
guest caller. Hey, we got to. That's
It's
an
like-
interesting question. Call Adam real quick.
Yeah. Hey, you know, we'll call Adam real quick. Hold on. So this guy's saying that this is this and this, blah, blah, blah. And you're going to be the authority to speak on all things trains.
Yep.
Okay.
Fair?
Yeah.
All right.
So you guys like movies, right?
Yes.
Watch a lot of movies. You guys ever watched Unstoppable?
No.
You never watched
Coolest train
Unstoppable
movie
with
ever.
Was that the recent one where
Chris Pine and Denzel Washington?
I think I've seen the meaty part of the end of it.
Yeah. Almost that whole movie is 100% trash and lies.
Well, it's Hollywood, right?
But
It's not accurate.
See, yeah, no, not at all. Like, I watched it before working with TRAAAIN, so it was a really great movie. And then I started working with it and learning about it.
You're
I was like,
it's not how that
it
fucking
turned
works.
that movie into garbage so fast.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, none of that would happen.
None of that.
None.
You see this thing right here prevents that from happening. See
Yeah.
this over here?
Yeah.
It would never happen because.
Right. Well, the alerters are the perfect example. I mean, that's like mandated unless they were built prior to, and I think the rule is you don't have to install one if it wasn't manufactured with one or something like that. But most of them have had some kind of upgrade to the point where now you have to have it in there, and that makes it so if it goes over a certain amount of time without moving the brake or the throttle or the reverse or moving something, it just automatically puts the train in suppression and stops. So this train in this movie goes, I can't remember, 60, 70, 80 miles something, and just goes by on its own. It's just picking up speed, and we can't
renegade,
stop it. Oh
yeah.
my God. I'm like, it would have stopped
It would have already stopped.
2 minutes after it left the yard.
It says this is based on a true story.
Yeah, it's loosely.
So there were trains,
Yeah, there were definitely trains.
and there is Denzel
CSX.
Washington.
Right?
Okay. I liked it.
Yeah,
So
the Crazy Eights incident was a
Yeah.
runaway train.
So I don't know, unless they maybe didn't have a reverse or a alerter in there. Like, I don't know the story behind it. I just know that a lot of the stuff in that movie, I was like, no way. After you find out.
you ruined the movie magic for us, bro.
Yeah, well, now you know. Knowing is half the battle.
And knowing is half the battle. That's going to do it for us tonight, folks. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Jason.
And I'm Greg.
Welcome, Adam. Peace out, everybody. Night. Can you do this?
Can we do it? And then to you. And to Greg. No,
I can do that. Look like boomers. I used to
I was doing
pop.
the SpongeBob.
There was a moment in the popping and breaking in the 80s when people would say, I don't pop, I break. I don't pop, I break. I'll pop against you. I don't pop, I break. It's like, I don't pop anymore. It's for kids. I break.
Spit on my head.
I can spit on my head and face.
When they were doing it on square pieces of cardboard.
Yes. I had Masonite.
Their ghetto blasters.
Yes. Well, so yes. I had Masonite. It was that little half sheet 4x4.
I mean, this thing's
the Armor
cool.
All.
The really cool one was when they came out with the CD player one. Mm-hmm. Those were the ones that I really
So I didn't really have, I didn't have any of this stuff when I was a kid. I had a Speak and Spell, and I had the Atari. But
Oh, I didn't have any of that. I grew up in a trailer park, bud.
I had to buy all the shit
I
as
am
an
the
adult.
epitome of white trash, bud. Like, I own it loud and proud.
So I say, if my mom couldn't find it at a garage sale, I didn't
We
have
didn't
it.
have it.
Yeah,
You said that
right?
several times. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we got a Super Nintendo when I was around 12 that fell off a truck. I still, to this day, my mom won't tell me where it came from.
She bought that shit off a trunk of a car.
Yeah, probably.
stole it.
Because the Nintendo was misspelled, so it had to have been. No, I'm just joking. It wasn't
It's a
that bad.
knockoff.
It had some kid's name. It was scratched out.
Scratched in the bottom of it.
I thought it said Tommy, but
It said Andy.
it said Andy. It was on his foot. Sweet.